Man, if you had $1 million, real estate would be easy. Let's go get the freaking $1 million. Let's stop goofing around. Let's stop pretending we're working and doing stuff that doesn't work, and let's get a replicatable model that any market will make it.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to the Life Inner Show. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. On the Life Inner Show, we help people make more, work less, and live awesome, amazing, abundant lives. I am joined by Polish Peter, my co-host. What's up, brother?
Not much, man. Looking forward to this particular episode.
Yeah, dude. So we have John Burley on, and John is a great guy, has a lot of integrity, has a lot of character, but he's also super successful in the single family home realm. He has a different approach than most people. And like, I'll tell you, when you listen to this episode, you are going to, you might find yourself like pushing back a little bit because he teaches something a very, very different approach than most people do, man.
Yeah, and one of the things that I like about John, if you've been in the real estate investing industry for, I don't know how many years, you've probably heard of him because he's been around since, what, 80s,
he's
90s?
Like 40, yeah, he's been around like 40 years.
Yeah, and obviously what he's doing has been sustainable. He's been able to grow his company, grow his business. He's gone through all these different cycles. So as you're listening to this episode, I want you to consider looking to if this could be something that might be, thing to do, and looking from the business perspective, and especially if I'm in real estate. How do I look from the mindset perspective, and how do I approach this as a business and not so much as, I'm a doing real estate kind of stuff, right? Because he talks a lot about that. So yeah. So
that's a good
I'm
point,
looking
man.
forward to the episode. Take notes. And
using these strategies, dude, he has weathered 4 or 5 market downturns, whereas 2/3 of his competition, he said, each time got wiped out. He's still here. So he's doing something right. And so I'm excited, man, for people to hear this.
Yep. Bring it on.
Let's go to our interview right now with John Burley. John, what's up? Welcome to the Life Inner Show, man. So great to see you.
Hey, Jason, Peter, great to be here, guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Very proud of the organization you guys have developed and the people you work with. So it's just awesome to be here. I'm honored.
Well, man, I remember when I first had the chance to meet you in Arizona. I was speaking at Azria, and this is years ago, man. And I just remember not only the impression you made upon me at that time, because that might have been one of the first times we met, but everybody else was like, "Have you met John? Do you know John? You have to get to know what he's doing." And everybody was singing your praises, and you just had such a reputation of integrity, of character, of expertise that I've kind of like, it's not like we communicate on a regular basis, but I've been following what you're doing on Facebook. And so things are rocking and rolling. Him. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Band fanning you. And like, so tell me, like, just introduce yourself to our audience, and then let's kind of get into what you're doing and how you become so successful and the people you help as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a little different. I started actually selling door to door at 6 years old. I owned a couple different companies. I come out of Wall Street, the world of Wall Street, so some pretty high-end security stuff. In 1989, I'm in the Phoenix areas where our corporate offices are. We invest in 11 states and a couple other countries. But in 1989, I formed a private equity company. We were the first company from quote unquote Wall Street. They're not all really Wall Street, but everybody just calls them Wall Street. We were the first company to actually go out, raise money, and to go out and buy large numbers of single family homes. So in the early 90s, 89, we bought hundreds and hundreds of properties, which turned into thousands and thousands of properties. Almost every single deal we do is a very, very long-term hold. And so we just, we reinvented how real estate investing had been taught and done. Because in that era, that was literally 20 years before Wall Street got involved in single family homes. And we all knew single family homes made more money than buildings. The cap rates, a child can figure that out. 5th grade math shows you that you make way more money. It's just they were a lot more work. And what people don't realize is even today, about 98% of all those institutional buyers, they don't work for profits at all. They work entirely for fees. And so if you're going to place $10 million, it's easier to buy one $10 million building than back in those days, $100,000 houses. Even though the houses make more money, if you only get paid off of assets under management and fees, Who cares whether they make money or not? And people are like, no, come on, John. I mean, like the Wolf of Wall Street, all those Wall Street movies, is it really that bad? It's like, oh, no, it's far, far worse. I mean, there is no teaching of making returns for the clients. There can't be, because you can only do one model, and their model is fee-based. And so we went out and just did thousands and thousands. It's not like I know everything or there was this wise guru. It's like literally there's no mistake you could make on a property that I haven't made multiple times. And through sheer repetition, I figured out everything to never do, which then gave me the obvious, this is what we do. And so we just defined and streamlined the model. And our model primarily is very long term. And what we do is we do owner financing. I know personally my properties, 2,200 families have owned the home because of us, meaning they moved in, they made payments for a number of years, just like normal, and then they cashed us out and got the deed. And for my students internationally and across America, it's over 1 million people own homes. Wow. I know of our 2,200, I don't think 50 of those guys would have ever owned a home.
Wow.
Because, right now we're continuing to decline. We're about 62% of Americans own their own home, 38% don't. In a country where the dream is to own your own home. And most of the free world, the dream is to own a home. I understand a lot of the world's not free, but, in America, this is the dream. And yet we're, 38% don't own. And so we provide that solution and then just take care of a lot of people along the way.
So did you know right off the bat that single family homes was going to be the vehicle you used, or did you try a bunch of different approaches and different strategies?
I've done most everything, So I went to, I'm a little older, I'm 62. And I started young. So when I was 18, so the late 70s, early 80s, interest rates were 18%, which was actually, in hindsight, a great learning curve because I had to learn how to do it the real hard way. It's kind of, so for me, the irony, people complaining about 6% interest rates, I'm like going,
you're like, come on.
I'm like, geez, I didn't see single digit interest rates till 1993. It's like I'd been in the business for 14 years before interest rates dropped below 10. And so it's like, perspective 101 there. Is, I started out, I went to the seminars, some of the old school guys that were out there. I guess you could say I drank the Kool-Aid, and it was all about how to do deals with no money down, how to do deals without credit, how to do the assignment of contract, which was quite a bit different than what assignment of contract is today. Because back then the idea was you were actually supposed to have the money and buy the house, not just, see if you could get lucky. A little different model then. And so I drank the Kool-Aid and, owned a couple businesses, moved into the brokerage industry. And it was interesting during that period of time, I did a handful of deals. I made money, all of them, but it was like incredibly hard. It's like, this is like ridiculous. I mean, this isn't a needle in a haystack. This is way harder. And it's like, and I'm just sitting there going like, okay, I work with all these clients who are extraordinarily successful. A very high-end boutique firm. All my clients were decamillionaires to worth $250 million back in the 80s. None of them had built their business that way. If you were to go to any MBA program today in America, they would all tell you, no, that's not how you do it. I mean, business models are not that hard. Number one, you have a great idea. Real estate's a great idea. Everybody listening, it's a great idea. No, number two is you raise the money. And this is where real estate industry just totally just like, I didn't get it. It was like, no, don't worry about money, kid. Just go out and make a bunch of offers. You'll get a good deal and the money will show up. And let me tell you my experience, that isn't what happened at all. I did a whole bunch of work and had a whole bunch of deals that never happened because I hadn't arranged the money because that's what I'd been taught from the Kool-Aid I drank at real estate seminars, which, when I was at an event a couple months ago, and it literally, one of the speakers was verbatim teaching the exact same stuff that I had learned from a couple guys back in the business in the early 80s. I mean, literally verbatim. I've seen people tell jokes that are 50 years old. And my thought usually is, man, at least hit the punchline if you're going to steal the joke. And just, it was like, this was crazy what we were taught to do. Because every real business is like, great idea, real estate. Raise the money first. I mean, could you imagine opening a McDonald's with no money? We're going to see if we can do a lease option on a special sauce. Let's do no money down owner financing on the buns. Maybe we can do an assignment of contract for the hamburger. It's like, this is crazy. That's not how any real business does it. And then the third thing was a system to monetize. And then the fourth thing is run it like a business. So what we did is where it made the switch for me. And I was also having the problem that a lot of people have is I had a few rental properties. And so I was at the point where the bank wasn't going to loan to me anymore because I was a successful investor with earnings on my tax return, which, as we all know, means you no longer can get conforming loans. So then the game changes. And I'm like, this is stupid. What am I doing? I have this super successful brokerage business. I have all these clients who are super successful, and nobody ever did this crazy model that real estate investing teaches. Nobody. Everybody who is a successful business owner had the idea, raised the money. And then since I learned from Wall Street, I feel sorry for my brethren, my brothers and sisters in real estate investing, because they've been taught that you're supposed to pay money for money and supposed to pay outrageous interest rates and points and all this stuff. Where the world I come from, Wall Street, we don't pay for anything. When you place money with me, I receive a placement fee. And then I manage the investment. So what we do is we have capital investors come on board and we teach the model. We teach it as a non-security and as a security. 95% of the people do it as a non-security because, well, it's a lot easier and a lot simpler. And we raise the money. We get paid a $10,000 placement fee per house. We then do all the work, all the investment, find the good deal, do everything that's required, and then we hold on to the property for decades, because that's what most capital investors want, long-term investing, not short-term. And we split all the profits and all the losses 50-50. And it's amazing, since we work for profit, every year, 33 straight years, we've generated profits. It's amazing how that works when you only get paid on earnings rather than fees. And so for me, what it did, short term, it took care of my needs. $10,000 per property. This covered my bills, my mortgage. Back then I still had a mortgage. I still had car payments. I had some bills back then because I hadn't learned to manage money like you guys teach people to do. And I agree fully. I was teaching debt free in the early 90s, about how to get out and there's good debt and bad debt. And so the idea was that I'm going to stop the madness. I'm not going to drink the real estate Kool-Aid anymore. I'm going to take all the good stuff from real estate education, and then I'm going to put it into a real business model where I get paid day one. So when somebody comes on and gives me money for 2 houses, I get a $20,000 placement fee I can take out right then to pay my own bills. And then I go out and find a really, really good deal that I want for decades, because if it doesn't make money, I still have to manage it for free. And I make it work. And so we get substantially higher rate of returns. What we do today, the end result after trying everything is, Class C. Class C, it stands for CRAP. We all know what Class C is. They're toxic neighborhoods. I don't want the culture. I don't want the lack of safety. I just don't want anything in it. Class A, numbers don't work very good. And the very demanding clientele. So everything we have is Class B. We then changed it from the normal adversarial, because you guys know how it is. There's so many components in business are set up intentionally and deliberately as adversarial, and I didn't want that. So there's adversary between the landlord and the tenant, and the main reason is because a lot of landlords don't treat their tenants very well, and a lot of tenants don't treat the landlords very good. So we don't even use the term tenant. I feel like I have to go wash my mouth out. We call them residents and we call them owners, because what we do is we change it and we turn them into an owner. We put them on a path of home ownership. Where we're doing forms of owner financing. And so, look, and we're stereotyping, but we use stereotypes because they're true. We're not on CNN or Fox News, so we can say words like stereotype and all be big boys and girls and go, well, yeah. Regular people, regular neighborhoods, Class B, I call them Lunch Pail Joe. And the thing is, homeowners just take way better care of their properties than renters. Homeowners stay and pay way better because it's their own home. And so we just took the adversary out. We then changed it with the capital investors, because normally it's like, the capital investor, the investor's like, man, you're just charging me fees and you're making all this money. I don't make anything. Now it's like, whoa. If I don't make you money, I don't get paid. So I make you money. So I don't buy mediocre deals like, all of us complain about. And it's true. These Wall Street companies came in 20 years after me, and they just started overpaying. And people all the time, well, I don't understand why they did blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, well, the only thing it's true in your statement is you didn't understand. See, they were never trying to make a profit. They were just trying to earn fees. It's like I tell people like, oh, man, Zillow's so stupid. They lost $780 million on paper, on flips. Like, did they? Because during that period of time, the stock went up over $10 billion. I don't know about you. I'd love to lose 780 million on paper tax deductions and have 10 billion in my pocket. I would put to everybody that Zillow was never a real estate play ever. It was a stock play the entire time because they operate in different models. So what I did is I took the stuff the really big boys and girls do, brought it down to what we do. We do all sorts of spectrums within the asset class. So we do big buildings, we do commercial, we do all that stuff, but we mainly and primarily do single family home because I can always buy a good deal regardless of the market, and I can always cash flow it.
So let me ask you, Joe, can I rewind for a second? I want to make sure I understand your model, and I'm sure I'm going to screw this up, so you're going to have to correct me. So you are bringing on your capital partners, and you guys are, I guess, 50-50 partners in this deal. They are paying you. So is it one partner per house, or do they go into like a PPC, like a PPM or something, and there's a bunch of them, and it's all one company, and you guys buy all everybody together?
We can do everything. I've even done overseas a managed fund, which would be a U.S. mutual fund which was full securities compliance. What most of us do is, so like Jason, you and I know each other. We talk about it, and you'd be like, "Hey, John, I'm going to do 5 houses," and so you'd either pay all cash for them, or you do the down payment, the closing costs, and sign for the loans. And so we do 5 houses together. Those 5 houses would be a business that we would form. Very important that we structure it properly. We want to make sure we get 199A, which is 20% of our taxes are exempt from income. So we form it as a trader business that qualifies for 199A. We maximize Section 179 the first year. We can get 8 to 12% really easy of the purchase price as a tax deductions in the first year. So we do all the tax side. There's 8 ways we monetize. But yeah, so you'd come on, you'd do 5 houses. I'd make 5 placement fees. We'd then have those, and those would be in our LLC. Peter, now he's a bigger fish. Peter comes on, he wants 20 houses. And so we do 20. Right. Sorry, Jason. He told me that he's a bigger fish. And so we do 20.
You got better looking hair too.
And you got better hair, dude. I mean, I'm with you. It's funny now. A lot of my friends, Jason, sorry, but Peter, you'll appreciate this. A lot of my friends give me a bad time because my hair's turning gray, but it's always the guys who don't have hair. So it's like, dude, I got hair. It's like gray's good. I don't need to.
Speak the truth, John.
This is the truth. This is what we're really here for. And so what we do is most of our capital investors, the money's not pooled, it's not mixed. I don't, this again, we're going back to traditional seminar land, because it's like they're teaching you, get 3 or 4 of your broke friends to all give you $10,000 and get on Edna to sign for a loan on some little cruddy Class C property with a whole bunch of risk involved. And it's like, no, it's like, I mainly work on the West Coast. I don't go out and do a lot of speaking engagements because what I do for a living is I run my private equity company. But one lady in Ohio, she said that, it's like I'll go out to her convention about every 5 years, Vina, and she's always like, it's just amazing. Everybody else is here trying to piece together and beg, borrow, and steal and bring all these pieces in and put it together. And you walk up and you're like, hey, why don't we just raise a couple $1 million and buy 100 houses right now today? And you get paid hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars up front and go. Because it's just a completely different mindset. And that's all it is the mindset. Trisha Rockwood started working with me 4 years ago. She's from Michigan. In 4 years, she's bought 205 houses with capital investors. She's made $1,950,000 in placement fees. And her share of the passive income is $84,000 a month.
So you're teaching people.
That's it?
Yeah. Yeah, you could buy like a soda and a candy bar with that, basically. Yeah. So you're teaching other people to do this too, though. So you're not just doing this for yourself; you're helping other people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I do 4 events a year in Phoenix. I go out of town 4 or 5 times a year and do a speaking engagement. When you were out here in Jason, when you're out in Phoenix several years ago, I go down and I speak for AZ RIA every year. I'm here. Yep. It's an easy trip for everybody. And so we have right here in Maricopa County, we have 1,000 documented RIA millionaires, 1,000 of them, just off the passive incomes. I mean, so what we do really does, because it's kind of like, look, there's so much good to real estate education, but the Kool-Aid that we're supposed to drink defies every logic of business. Try and do deals without any money. That's dumb. Try and do money without credit. That's stupid. Hope that you get paid 90 days to 9 months later on a flip. That's ludicrous. And so people just do all these things that they think they're working, but they're really not. And so ours is like, look, and I say this to people all the time. It's like, look, let me ask you, and you guys can answer. If you had $1 million in your bank account tonight, $1 million to put in your bank account, could you tomorrow go buy real estate that were good deals and made money?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, and everybody's like, yeah, okay, well then, so instead of trying to go find deals without money, why don't we work on raising and placing the money first? Like a real business, have the money in the bank. So I only make written offers when I have money. I teach people, stop looking at real estate at 2 a.m. online that you have no money to buy. You're not working. You're pretending you're working. It's not making you a dime. The entire game, real estate, from my point of view, where I've learned, real estate has absolutely nothing to do with anything with real estate. It never had anything to do with real estate, and it will never have anything to do with real estate. Real estate is entirely about money and nothing else, just like every other asset class in the world. It's about money. And without money, yes, can you do it without money? Of course. It's extraordinarily hard. Without money, are you going to build a large portfolio of cash flowing houses and be able to get what we all want, which is to have the choice to retire better and sooner? Extraordinarily unlikely. I mean, you can do like the Burrs and the different models, but the problem with those models is they have inherent flaws. The Burr requires that the real estate keeps going up, and the Burr requires that interest rates stay low. Well, historically, that's never going to continue for any sustained period of time. Yeah. It's like,
and go ahead. Interrupt you there. Just describe Burr, BRR method for people that don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's the idea of you buy, you renovate, you refinance, and you repeat. And, it's a good model. The thing it's kind of missing is they're not really clear on how you get the $80,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 to buy the first house. And then, they teach, and again, this is none of the seminar Kool-Aids that always just mystified me. They teach people who have no idea how to do a rehab to rehab. It's like, look, real estate's hard enough when you don't know what you're doing. Why would you add construction? I mean, so like in my office and yours, there's nothing good behind these walls. Okay, when you open a wall, there's nothing good inside, man. It's mold and it's mildew and it's dry rot and water, And so it's like, if you don't, I tell people all the time starting out, it's like, look, if you don't have a construction experience, if you didn't work in the trades and your family didn't have a construction company, for God's sakes, don't start doing rehabs. You don't know what real estate is. Why would you want to rehab? So we just keep it simple.
Hey, we'll get right back into our interview. But before I do, I want to tell you about something that's incredibly awesome and amazing. And that is what I consider to be our freedom formula in Life and Air. Now, if you're at Life and Air, you've been following us for any period of time, you know we're all about helping you create a life and business you love. You need to have both, right? You can't just have a great life and your business isn't making you any money, because that's gonna stink. And you can't have a business that completely takes up all of your free time and you're stressed out and running around with your hair on fire, because then you're not gonna have the life you want, right? And so you need to have both of these. And that's why we have 2 events. We do these all over the country. We do a handful per year. Peter and I teach these personally. And this is the Get a Life Getaway and the Business Builder Workshop. So if you don't have the life you want, you need to put together your vision and your plan for your blueprint for the ideal life you want to live in every single area, and reverse engineer the exact steps to make that a reality. Get to the Get a Life Getaway. If business is your challenge right now and you need to go there first, totally cool. We totally get that. And so come to our Business Builder Workshop, because we teach you how to run a real business, not one that requires you to do everything in it and wear all the hats and have you running around with your hair on fire constantly. Like, that's not a business, that's a job. And it's a bad job because you got a bad boss and you're the bad boss. And so let's get you out of that role. Let's help you create a business you love that works without you. So you have time for the vacations, you have time for life's curveballs, you have time to do all the things you want to do, and the finances to support that and finance it. So go to lifeinner.com right now. We also have a very special offer on both of these events, and I can't tell you how long it's going to last because I don't know. Peter, tell them about the special promo we've set up.
So here is the special promo we got for you. Because you're a loyal listener to us, you listen to the podcast, you endure the listening to both of us here every single week, we have a special 50% off coupon. That's 50, half of it off. So when you go to lifepreneur.com, click on the tab up at the top of the page called Events. Pick the event that you want to go to. At the checkout page, there is an area called the promo code. Type in the word podcast, PODCAST. That's my English language. I think I got this right. Podcast, right? Yeah. Hit apply, and you're going to instantly get 50% off your ticket price. Come to the event, introduce yourself to us. We're going to be there. Tell us you found us the podcast. You got it from here. We love meeting the listeners from the podcast. And let's help you create the life that you want and your business that you love.
Let's do it. We'll see you guys at an event soon. Put this on the calendar. This will change your life. This will change your business. Let's get back to our podcast episode right now. So what you're saying obviously flies in the face of what a lot of gurus teach and a lot of people have heard, from those late night infomercials going all the way back to Carlton, right? And so
God bless him. Carlton was a good guy.
Yeah, and I've heard that. I've never met him.
I'm old enough. I knew him.
And so tell me, what do you think it is that is so alluring to people, and why do gurus promote these approaches? Is it because most people don't have money and they're trying to help someone ignite their dream? Is it they're trying to what is it? Why do people promote this?
Well, inherently in your model, what you guys did, which defies most of what people do, you actually addressed the need. You need to fix your debt problem. You need to lower what you owe. You need to have a better lifestyle. So you worked on needs, which is a longer term proposition. And what most of the gurus, it's such a disgusting term, but that's what people call them. What most of the gurus do is they're just selling greed. Get rich quick, get rich quick, get rich quick. And I mean, I don't do a lot of guest appearances because mainly it's those sort of rooms. And you know what it's like. It's like, first of all, when they have an event, so if you come to one of my events, when you come to a John Burley event, John Burley actually teaches the event. I'm there, for the entire 3 days. I'm doing the teaching. I bring in no guest speakers who come in and sell stuff. I have guest speakers who provide content, but they're homegrown students who are Century Club members, meaning they have over 100 properties in portfolio. I meet people at a lot of these events. It's like, look, you're not looking for real estate education. You're looking for Jesus Christ to walk in the room and provide a miracle. You're completely broke. You're behind the 8 ball and you're looking for a miracle. Well, miracles wouldn't consist of you going out and raising money and get paid to place it. Miracles would consist, you being the one in 10 or 20,000 who actually goes out in 30 or 60 days, has an offer accepted and sells it for a profit, which is extraordinarily low, especially out of the gate because you have no pipeline. They're looking for the miracles, and they found out a long time ago that it's way easier to sell greed than need. So that's what they market. I'd also put to it, you guys, there's so many out there, and I don't know a bunch of the new generation because I never really pay that much attention to the new generation of speakers and educators until there's a downturn, and then we see if they actually had a model. And this is my 5th downturn, so it's not like I'm a new kid, everybody has a model that works when the market's going up. Well, show me what happens when the market goes down. Because we've already seen right now, so many of the educators, their models are just completely failed because their models were based on it always went up and interest rates were low. Well, you can't count either of those. Interest rate risk and market rate risk, you have to factor in. The first thing you have to factor in is you can't control them. And so I think they sell the greed side. And I always tell people, hey, look, if you're looking for a miracle, if you're looking to get rich, sitting at home in your underwear doing nothing, I'm not your guy. I don't sell false miracles. We teach a business plan that works. It's a real business. You have to viably do it. We also teach people, it's like, look, if you don't have any money, we're not going to spend any time looking for real estate. So we talked about just a few minutes ago, man, if you had $1 million, real estate would be easy. Well, let's go get the freaking $1 million. Let's stop goofing around. Let's stop pretending we're working and doing stuff that doesn't work. And let's get a replicatable model that any market will make it. So the thing we focus on is doing a talk, and this shouldn't surprise you, that's completely different than what everybody else does, about raising money. I teach and I use a talk similar to what the guys and gals I knew in the securities business back in the 80s, who all made, we all made over $1 million a year in earnings. And our conversation, our talks had very little to do with what the company training was, had very little to do with what normal salespeople do. We actually wanted to meet our capital investors' emotional needs on a conscious and a subconscious level. And that's how we teach it. We just teach, look, let's run it like a real business. Let's take care of the money today. If you take care of the money, it's easy. And otherwise, very few people are going to have 100, 200, 500,000 houses, which is normal in our community, but extraordinary in other communities, because you can't do that without bringing in outside funds. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, listen, I love the conversation that you're sharing with us here, because couple of things that I'm hearing is, one, there is a shift that happens up here between those 2 years that has to happen for people. And the two is, I hear one of the first things that you need to do is raise capital, raise money. So my question to you is, so if someone is sitting here on this podcast and listening, okay, and say, John, that sounds really good. I'm excited. I want to go do this. I think the capital raising is the right way to do. But who am I to go raise money? And how do I actually go about doing? What do I do? What would you tell them?
Well, the first thing I'd say is hook into the community. So, on Facebook, there's John Burley Real Estate Investing. There's a group you can join. We have videos, John Burley.com on YouTube, John.Burley on Instagram, and you can go to johnburley.com, and there's a bunch of free downloads. First thing is what you covered, Peter, which is so important, man. It's the mindset. It's shifting your beliefs, and that's where it starts. So the first thing is like, look, okay, there's so much good that came out of the real estate education. And I'm very grateful for some old masters that are long passed away now that became friends of mine. But some of the things that they did, I wouldn't do. So like, most of the big guys that you met in that era all were in Class C, which just sucks. Class C is terrible. I mean, if you've ever owned any amount of Class C, it's not good. And if you think about anybody who was a traditional landlord who was in Class C, who had 100 houses, we've all met a bunch of these people. They're the most unhappy SOBs on the face of the earth. I mean, because it's a horrible life. And we wanted to change that. So we needed to shift our mindset first. And the first thing is that, look, real companies raise money first. I want to have a real company, so I need to shift. The biggest thing we do, and I always tell people, like, look, about 5% of the equation is tip techniques and strategies. That's only 5%. About 15% is money management skills, both in something you guys teach great, how to manage your own personal money, and then how to manage leverage, investment debt. Which there's a lot of flaws in what's being taught right now. A lot of people are in some pretty extreme debt issues because, again, the models were, hey, I can always refinance at a lower rate and it'll always go up in value. In a lot of places in the country, that's not happening. And then about 80% of our success is our psychology and emotions. It's retraining how we think about everything else. Because obviously, this is what we don't want to admit and think about. Is like, look, the only problem in our lives is we're there. Remove me from my life and all my problems are gone. And so I've got to acknowledge that, man, I'm the source of the good. And if I want to take credit for the good stuff, I got to take credit for the bad stuff because I did it all. And so is shifting it. And then learning is like, look, I love Zig Ziglar. Zig was a good friend of mine, and I had the honor of sharing the stage with him over 30 times around the world in big rooms, 15, 30,000 people often. And to me, Zig was a shining beacon. I mean, he was just a light in the speaking industry that we need a lot more of. He was one of the best guys that was ever in the business. He was one of the very few, because there's only a handful of people who've been in the speaking industry for 30, 40, 50 years who didn't go bankrupt, who didn't go broke, who didn't have affairs and all those things. I mean, I'm on that very, very short list. And almost every big name's gone under because they don't do what they teach. Many of them, what they need to do is take their own course, because their course is great. They just don't do it. And there's so many Zigisms out there, but my favorite Zigism, and the one he lived, and what was so great about him, is he was literally off the stage the exact same guy he was on the stage. It wasn't an act. That was just who he was. He was just, that was who he was. And my favorite Zigism was, if you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get everything you want. And so we reverse engineered the model. It's like, okay, first of all, nobody wants to be a renter in a Class C house. Nobody. What they want is they want to own their family home, their dream, their end game home, which for most people is a nice Class B neighborhood house. And so it's like, okay, so I'm going to give people a home. I'm going to give them a home. And that gets rid of the adversary, and that completely shifts the whole dynamic of the model. And then the capital investor, everybody said they want return, they want return, they want return. It's not really the truth. The vast majority of my capital investors lost huge amounts of money in 2010 to 12, most of them about a third of what they had investment capital. Most of the movement of money since that time, just like after the crash in 87, most of the movement money was from cash vehicles into my vehicle. So it's not like I'm competing with their stocks or their businesses or their other real estate. That's in 2004 and 5. That's in 86. That was a little teeny bit in that 19 window. Most of the money is just sitting parked, not making anything. So it's not the rate of return. They're stuck because and there's so many good books and written about so many great education on it. When you have money, for most people who have money, their number one fear is losing the money, not making more. It's losing. So when I meet with a capital investor, I know whether or not they know. I know what their needs are based on doing this for 40 years. So the first one is safety or security. I don't know which it is. About 75% their internal, and it's more subconscious than conscious, buzzwords is safety, and about 25% it's security. But if I know without doing a real estate seminar at all, because it's got nothing to do with real estate, if I can talk about safety and why safety is important, or security and why security is important, whichever one is hitting for them, and it's usually subconscious, not conscious, that's 90% of the placement. So we do safety, we do security. Then people, who do investments, they don't want to get in and out. So for those of you that do raise money now, man, when you ask people to give you money to flip houses, I mean, most people are afraid to flip an egg because it might break, and you want them to flip their lifetime fortune. Not a good choice of words. Most people would prefer to invest for the long term.
Right. So that's why you go with the 10-year plan, right? I mean,
yeah, well,
that's the way that it gives them the security and the safety and that going with you. That's
absolutely, Peter. Yeah. And also, real estate's not a 5-year window. It's not a 3-year window. It's not a 6-month window. We've all been around the game. Real estate on normal is 10 to 14-year windows. That's how long it takes for the market to go through its cycle. And we only sell when it's up, not when it's down. If we're out 10 years, the market's down, people go, well, what do you do? We don't do anything. We just keep doing exactly what we're doing, collect money every single month and wait for it to go up. Long term. And then people want cash flow, because everybody that's been an investor of mine essentially wants the exact same thing that Peter and Jason, you want and I want. We all wanted to be able to retire earlier and better, and then to make it a choice. And for most of us, when we get there, it's like, yeah, okay, I was actually in a position from my cash flow, all those hundreds of houses I'd bought in those first few years, to retire in 32, but I didn't want to retire. I love what I did. I love all the people I serve. I love all the residents. I love my capital investors. So I keep doing it. I mean, my core business is this. This is why I don't run around and educate, because we've got a kick-ass real estate investment company. So they want long-term. So we give them the long-term. We give them the cash flow, which gives them the ability to make those choices on when they work and when they don't work. And as you guys know, for many people, when you combine paying off debt with increasing income streams, suddenly you don't need 20 grand a month. You might need $6,000 or $8,000 or 10 grand a month. I know I've got a great student of mine, Ralph Harding. He's down in the Tucson, Arizona area. He's only got 42 houses, which is a lot, but he makes 55 grand a month. He had a brain hemorrhage and almost died on the table about 5 years ago. And when he came out of that, he was like going, I don't want 100 houses anymore. I want to have 40 houses paid for free and clear. And so he's paid off 32 of his houses. He buys a couple houses a year. He has a couple a year cash out. But he makes $55,000 a month. Well, his wife just left her corporate job because she loved it, but she just retired. And so literally, their monthly needs were $6,000 to $8,000 a month. They had everything they needed. They already owned a house and a vacation home and the vehicles and all the toys. And so it's like, yeah, but he was making, all this money. So he would just put $30,000 a month into paying off his houses. So we go like, well, that's dumb. Well, when you got $30,000 excess a month to pay off your houses or spend it on whatever you want, you decide what's smart and dumb. Until you have the money, maybe just listen to the adults in the room who are smarter and more experienced.
And then when it's a downturn, like it's happening now he's probably sleeping a lot better in bed, doesn't he?
He sleeps great. Yeah. And that's what gives you the sleep, is the sustaining power of the income. And so we do the cash flow. The next thing is tax benefits. The richer you are, the more important there are. Look, real estate's got a lot of amazing tax benefits. I mean, is it true what you see on every other podcast that you can make $1 billion a year and pay no income taxes? No. Is it true that you can make a lot of money real estate investing and offset significantly large amounts of taxable income? Yes. But if you make a lot of money, you pay some income taxes. That's just the way it is. There are some things I've done a few times where strategically I could get several $1 million on a one-off write-off that we've done. But as far as year in and year out, owning as much real estate as I do, can I offset all that income every year? No. A lot of it, yes. So tax benefits are important, and then rate of return. And this is if you're raising money out there and you're just getting started, guys. Look, don't ever say anything above 10%. 10% is too much. If you're rich, going for above 10%, that to you brings up all risks and losses, and then you remember, you lost in, because you got to remember the people that are older to have money, they got creamed in '87. Took him 10, 15 years to get back on the horse. They got back on the horse in the go-go 2000s, and then they got creamed again in 10. Many of them got back in from the quote-unquote Trump effect that was happening in that 17, 18, 19 era. They got back in when the market was going crazy, but they didn't get out. So when the market fell 20%, they got creamed again. So you got to understand the psychology and emotions of the capital investors. They're very, very, very afraid of loss. So we quote numbers 4 to 6 or 6 to 8, depending what your numbers are, and then vastly exceed them. Because I know this: if Peter, if I promise you 12% return and I make 11.88, I'm a crook. If I promise you 4 to 6 and I underperform and only get 10, I'm a hero.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not about the return, because if the money's already in cash, it's not return because the money's sitting in cash. And then the last one is just capital growth. We don't use the word appreciation in America. English Commonwealth, for appreciation, they call it capital growth. I do capital growth. People who have money know that depreciation, but it's a softer word and it's got less negative connotations. Because again, to most people, when they lost money, they did it. And people are like, oh, well, they should be real estate businesses to do this. It's like, capital investors, they're making, on the low end, $50, $100 an hour. Most of them are making $250, $500, $1,000 an hour. They've been in a career for 20, 30, 40 years. They're at maximum earning potential. They are not going to a RIA. They are not going to join a club. They are not going to become a real estate investor. They make too much money per hour doing what they do. They want someone like you to do it for them.
Right.
And your own stories, I would look at this. My stories are real, but they're not true. I can cite lots of examples. I mean, a guy named John Simo, he lives in the Dallas, Texas area. He was born with a very low mental capacity, just how God made him. He doesn't like the new words that, and every 5 years they're changing the term for learning disabled, not thinking about how confusing that is to somebody who is born learning disabled. Kind of the label that he got, that's his label. Very simple. When I met him, he's functionally illiterate. Very simple man, very low IQ. He has 600 Burley houses in portfolio. 600.
Love it.
He learned the basic talk. He learned how to buy them. He learned how to buy basic houses in basic neighborhoods. So a lot of people are like, well, I'm not smart enough to do that. Okay, so your story is real. You don't believe you're smart enough, but it's not true because you're plenty smart enough. You have the capacity. Another one, and Jason, we were talking about this earlier, is one of my best friends in life is Nick Vujicic, the evangelist, who was born without arms and legs. What a lot of people don't know, and actually Nick's been talking about a lot more in the last couple of years. I met Nick when he was 17 years old. Nick is an extremely high-end real estate investor who's made tens of millions of dollars doing my real estate transactions for himself.
Wow.
He went out at 18 years old in those days in a baby stroller, having to pay his cousin to drive him, and raised money. He's got no arms and legs. So whatever our problems are physically, we have none.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
I'm a little older and I've had some shoulder surgery and I got a bad knee. And every time I think, man, my knee hurts, I just remember, my buddy Nick would love to have a sore knee this morning. He would love to be walking a little slow because he can't. And so we have these stories. They're real, but they're not true.
So all I'm hearing is even a Polak can do it.
Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it.
John,
you said that, not me. I'm getting enough trouble as it is.
I can say it because I am Polak. So I mean,
Right.
Well, maybe not today. We'll have to check.
John, listen, man, I could talk to you for hours, and I just love listening and learning, and it's so impactful. And I know our audience feels the same way, but like we are out of time here. But where do people learn more? I mean, you mentioned a couple sites earlier. Is that where you send them, or is?
Yeah, so the first thing, go to johnburley.com. We've got some special downloads, including the Secret to Raising Private Money, and some of the other courses that we have. We've got some free downloads there, and you can, check out what we have coming up and what we're doing. We have our next event is in April, and then we have one in the summer and one in the fall. I only do 4 events a year. That's just it. Because it's, like a lot of students say, the best thing about me is that I'm an active practitioner. And the worst thing about me is I'm an active practitioner, because since I actually do this, because you guys know how this works, man.
Yeah.
You can't really run a high-end investment company and run around the country 40 weeks a year teaching. Doesn't work that way.
Right.
That's not how life works, man. You got to focus on what you do. And this is what we do really, really extraordinarily well, is run the company. You can, on Facebook, those that are in Facebook, we do a lot on Facebook. You can join the John Burley Real Estate Investing. It's a group. You can join there. We do open questions, Q&A all the time. You can go to John Burley.com on YouTube. And, we're putting up new videos every week. You can also follow me at Instagram at john.burley. You can also call my office, 623-561-8246. And you know what, guys? I'm a local guy. I'm a regular guy. I open up my own social media accounts. So if you want to DM me a message on any of those formats, I'm not promising I'm going to get back the same day, but I will get back for real. And it will be me, not some 15-year-old.
John, you're awesome, dude.
Awesome.
I'm so grateful for you taking your time and
thanks, guys.
I mean, you've distilled down 40 plus years of experience for people in 40 minutes here, and it's been awesome. So thank you so much for doing this.
Hey, thank you, guys. Thank you. God bless. Appreciate it, Peter, Jason. Talk again soon, guys. Take care.
Dude, that was awesome, man. One of the things that I got to tell you is my favorite part of the whole thing is, dude, did you see his background? He has like swords, all this crazy background. And then I look at you, bro, and you have like a bobblehead doll and a high school diploma. Like what's going on here, bro?
That
like,
is not a high school diploma. Okay. Listen, that is actually my preschool diploma when they gave it to me and said, I can finally start walking. That's where I finally hit my walking stride. And that was the preschool diploma that they gave me.
It was either that or ESL. I wasn't sure.
I'm still working on that one.
And you got a fern. You got a fern and a bobblehead doll. He has swords, bro. What's up?
For those of you not familiar, ESL is English
as your second language.
So, English is a second language, so I'm still waiting in my email box to write for that.
Well, all right, bro, you got to step it up. That's all I'm gonna say. So listen, man, seriously, what a great episode. I'll tell you, I mean, I would say relatively controversial, actually, because what he's talking about is some of the things that people share is like no money down investing, and from his experience, that's not a way to approach business. That's not a sustainable way to run a company.
Yeah. And, one of the things that I've heard him talk about, that there's a shift that has to happen for you in between your 2 years. And that I think happens with everybody. There needs to be, if you're going and doing something different, you're doing something new, you're doing something, let's say in your business model, there needs to be a shift that happens between your 2 years first in order to be able to do that. And so that's one thing that I got out of this episode. Second thing I got out of this is you got to treat this like a business. I think a lot of people, whatever they start, don't treat that quote unquote business like a business. And he is treating it like a business. Use an example like, outside of real estate industry, how many businesses do you know that, you don't put some form of money into it, he talked about. And two, you don't treat it like a business,
Well, and I don't think he's talking necessarily against bootstrapping it, because that's what a lot of people do when they start.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But the bigger lesson that I took from that is like the sustainability of your business, and tie that into his comment about, and I hate the word too, gurus. And I thought it was interesting. I never thought of it that way before, that, they're selling greed and the quick fix and the silver bullet. And hey, you can make money in your pajamas. And by the way, in Life in Here, we caution against that a lot. And that's a dream. That's laziness. That's not realistic. And work is involved. But more than that, like, do you really want your business to be around in 10, 20, 30 years? And my hope for everyone listening is that, like, the answer is yes, but not in a way that you have to do it, but you get to do it. I've said this before, man, dude, I would do everything exactly the way, 95% of what I do now in Life in Here, I would do for free, because I love it. And so if you create a business you love, that is sustainable, that provides cash flow, that is, safe, and that is something that you can build a lifestyle out of. I mean, that's pretty awesome, rather than these, these quick hits and, you get a paycheck every 6 months or 9 months. And like, that's a hard way to live sometimes.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that you mentioned that 95% of the stuff that you do it for free. We can arrange it if you want. I mean, it's not that big of.
Well,
I can make few phone calls and we can.
you know people, right?
I know people who know people who know people. No, listen. So yeah, I agree with you on that. And the other aspect of it, I think this quick fix thing. I think that's a huge lie that's actually keeping people in that space of not being able to be successful.
Yeah.
Right. This instant gratification, this quick fix, this, within 30 days, you'll be able to find a house and all that kind of stuff. And some people are doing it, but the percentage of the people in the entire industry who are actually making it happen is small compared to what I think is being said out there. So this idea of, quick fix, I think actually, because people in their mind going like, okay, do this, it's going to finally help me get out of this hole, and do it as quickly as possible or whatever it might be. And that I think is actually keeping people in the hole as opposed to being more like, this is a business, going to go into it.
And dude, some of the organizations, and by the way, like, so, and I don't want to turn this into a bashing session, but like I've spoken with multiple national level speakers who sell courses, and they're expensive courses. And I asked them about the success rate, and they said, most people, quite frankly, don't do anything with it. And it's not, and I've gone through the courses, and the courses are great. Some of them are fantastic, but people just don't take action. They're looking for the quick fix. And once they realize it's going to take work, they don't do it. And so I just want to encourage you, like, I think there's actually joy to be found in the work, in the discipline that's required to move to success. And if you can enjoy that process, and also have a vision of the future where you get to do a whole lot more. Like, and I think this is something, we talk about the Business Builder Workshop, man, like where, we have the 4 stages of business prosperity, which, by the way, dude, I don't know if we've ever talked about that on the podcast, maybe some other day, but with the first stage, when you're creating your business vision, and your business is brand new, you're probably doing a lot of the work. And that's just an inevitable, unavoidable part of the business. And you cannot start right from the get-go and have everything automated, eliminated, delegated, and all that. And like, so I think it's that you're right, man. Like people and then they get distracted with another dream. Like, hey, this isn't as easy as I thought. I'm going to try another one. And they get sold on their greed to try the next miracle solution. And it's not real. And now, by the way, you keep buying, one course after another that you don't do anything with, and you've just spent $50,000, $30,000, and now you have more debt, and it gets bleak. So I think you got to
get out of the hole gets more immediate.
Yeah,
and
right,
I need to get out of it even faster.
It's even more important, right?
And it's prevailing and keeps
more
going
desperate.
on and on. Yeah.
So you gotta take, I believe, a realistic approach. I'm not telling you to grind forever. That's not a part of it. But like, just recognize and think about sustainability in your business. And ideally, again, you're doing something you love. And so maybe as you get more and more experience, and this is something, again, we mentioned Business Builder Workshop, you take those things off your plate, you delegate them, you automate them, you get rid of them. But that's where successful businesses are run. And this is how legacies are created. And this is how you can retire early if you choose to. Like, dude, I don't ever want to retire, ever. I want to be 80 years old and still doing the same stuff I'm doing now. I want to be on stages and sharing and doing podcasts. I mean, I don't know about you doing it with you.
People want to see you when you're 80 on the stage. I don't know if
yeah, I mean,
like, hey, hello kids, this is Jason. Oh.
But dude, like that's what. And so, like, more than anything, that was a huge lesson, a big takeaway from his model. And I mean, there's other very specific techniques and strategies that he uses in real estate. But again, it's all about business, right? That was the lesson he kept coming back to.
And one last thing before we wrap up is this. He talked about raising money. And whether it's this is the model that you're going after. I feel like if you get to a point where you're able to raise money, that is a skill set that can transform your entire life for anything that you do. Because you literally have to go have some kind of a skill set. Remember, we talked about on this podcast, I talked about this before. It's like in order for you to raise the money, who do you need to become to be able to do that? So you become a different version of you to be able to go raise money, or to be able to go and buy that house, or to be able to go and be successful. You have to become a certain person. So if you get that skill, that can carry on into so many different levels of your life. So I would encourage the listeners to take something from this conversation, from this particular podcast, take one thing and just start implementing it till the cows come home. Like, start implementing it till literally you get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yep. Great advice, man. Great advice. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we hope you guys enjoyed this as much as we did. If you did, I would love for you to leave us a review, leave us a rating, give us a thumbs up, tell people about it, share this somewhere, and help us get more listeners so we can change more lives together. We're a team. I look at this as a team. You know, we're two parts of a coin here. We're doing this, and you guys are taking it to the masses and running with it. And so we're very grateful for you, for your time, your attention, and your and basically your faith that we're guiding you the right way, and that we can help you.
Despite the fact that you have those two leaders leading you, you know, I mean, one can barely speak English. The other one is, you know,
this is like kind of like,
keep it going.
It's a little bit like Dumb and Dumber. I will admit that.
All right. I'll see you guys next podcast.
See you guys next week. Later.